Hello everyone, myself T Nagarajan. Today going to see about sawing machine. What is sawing machine? Sawing machine is a device for metal cutting in the machine shop. Sawing machine cutting tools are very thin metallic disc with a teeth on their edges. Three action involve the sawing machine. One is grinding, another one is friction grater melting, true cutting. Working principle. How to cut the metal using in this machine? First, raw material, draw the shape. This shape cutting using the sawing machine. A drive wheel and idle wheel is supported. Driven the blade. Why using idle wheel support? Because idle wheel is using change the direction. This purpose using idle wheel support. Types of sawing machine. Three types of sawing machines are there. One is reciprocating saw, another one is band saw, third circular saw. Reciprocating saw also two types. One is horizontal sawing machine, vertical sawing machine. Band saw also two types are there. Contour band saw, friction blade. Circular saw also three types are there. Cold saw, friction disc, abrasive disc. What is reciprocating saw? Commonly used remodeling and demolition purpose using reciprocating saw. It is known as power axe saw. It consists of saw frame, means of reciprocating saw and frames. Work table and vise, supporting base, source of power. All the saws are using electric power, but reciprocating saw using most of the operations are hydraulically controlled. Two types are cutting using the reciprocating saw. One is square, another one is angular. Operations of reciprocating saw. Machine drives a blade back and forth through a workpiece, pressing down on the cutting stroke and releasing the pressure on the return. Two types of reciprocating saw are there. One is horizontal reciprocating saw, another one is vertical reciprocating saw. Video going to see about how to cut the metal using reciprocating saw.
What's up, Tools in Action, Express, Ty, Ryan from Brewski's Barge. We got the new extreme metal cutting carbide tip blade from Diablo. We're going to cut through this trailer hitch ball. They don't think it can do it. There's no way it's going to. All right, well, go for it. No way?
Wow, impressive.
Do you guys really think it's impressive?
Incredible.
Yes, it is. That's the and look, how's the teeth look? Still got tons of life left.
Yeah, like you never even used it.
That's it, man. Extreme metal cutting from Diablo. It's the bomb. Wow. Now we got Joel from Brewski's Motorsports. He looks like Ryan, but it's not. Ryan's over there. They're twins. So, Joel, we got the new metal extreme cutting blade from Diablo. It's going to cut through that ball. Do you think it's going to cut through it?
I don't know. We're going to find out here in a second, so let's give it a shot.
Very good. I don't know how it's going to cut.
Second type is band saw. Band saw is a power saw with a long, sharp blade consisting of continuous band of tooth metal stretched between two or more wheels to cut the material. A continuous saw blade runs over the rims of two wheels on the machine. Band saw is a two types are there. One is contour band saw, another one is friction band saw. Contour band saw is also known as vertical band saw. This is may be fed in any direction on the blade. Direction of a feed is readily controlled and changed while cutting is in process. Second one is friction band saw. Friction band saw using the dull blade. Using the dull blade produce a great friction. This friction using cut the metal. This is friction band saw. Two types of band saw pictures are there. One is this is friction band saw. This is vertical band saw. Friction band saw the continuous tooth rotating. The workpiece is moving. This is friction is created. Using this friction, cut the metal. Circular saw. What is circular saw? Circular saw is a rotary motion. This is two shapes using the circular saw. One is angular, another one is cross section. Circular saw disc may have large teeth or no teeth. Circular saw also three types are there. One is cold saw. This is a circular blade with inserted teeth. Large diameter blades using cold saw cuts very rapidly, runs at a relatively slow speed but very powerful in cold saw. Average thickness of a cut is 6 mm. Second one is friction disc. Friction circular blades having almost no teeth, rotating high speed. So due to this reason, generate more heat. This is heat using cut the metal. Leaves a heavier burr and a less accurate surface. Third one is abrasive disc. This is rubber banded wheels rotating at high speeds are used. Cutting action is fast and accurate. Circular. Three types of circular saws are there. See the picture. This video is about how to cut the metal using circular saw.
The metal cutting circular saw can work much the same way. Before starting work, you want to make sure that the blade is in good condition. Check all the carbide teeth, make sure they're not dull or chipped. Use the appropriate blade for the material you're cutting. Anything over 10 gauge will require a 42 tooth blade. Thinner material, a 50 tooth blade. Today I'm cutting 5/16 thickness A36 mild plate steel. Here I'm setting up the guide at the appropriate offset. In this case, I want to cut some strips 1 inch and 7/8 wide, and I know that the foot or the base of the saw has a 2.5 inch offset. So I'm going to simply set it at 4 3/8 inches, and that will create a straight line guide that the saw can follow. After tightening your clamps, make sure you go back and you double check your measurements. It's not uncommon for the straight edge to shift a little bit as the clamps get tightened. You may have to go back a couple of times to get it dialed in just perfect. The more accurate you are here, the more accurate your finished result will be once you start cutting. It's always a good idea to start your cut and just make a very slight cut into the material so that you can measure and make sure that you're cutting the correct width before you make your cut. Let the saw come up to full speed and then enter the work carefully. You want to find a pace that is allowing the saw to cut at an even rate and that sounds good. If you press the saw too hard, you'll hear the motor drag down. You want to go a little bit slower, but you don't want to go so slow that the blade builds up excessive heat. It can cause it to wear out prematurely. You need that chip to help carry away the heat. I find on this thickness of material, a pace of about 1 to 2 seconds per inch feels about right. At the end of your cut, you want to make sure that you have a way to catch the material, either by hand or have a helper who can catch it. After making the cut, remove the chip bin from the saw and dispose of the chips in the trash can. You want to take the time to empty the chips after each cut. Metal cutting saws have a relatively low duty cycle, meaning that they can typically cut maybe for a minute or two, and then they need to stop and cool off for a while. The manual contains a chart indicating the amount of time and the number of inches you can cut at various thicknesses. The saw does have a thermal protection circuit on it, but it's recommended that you try to stay within those recommendations not to overheat the saw.
Cutting tools, saw blades, three basic configuration is there. One is axa blade, second one is bandsaw blade, third one is circular saw. Axa blade is rigid blade. This is limited length is using strength, more strength on one edge. Bandsaw blade is flexible band. This also long continuous band. Circular saw, this is rigid disc. See the blade and the tooth picture. Common features related to all type of tool: material for blade, tooth form, tooth spacing, tooth set. Last one is blade thickness. Material: small blades are made up of high speed steel or carbon steel. Longer blades are made up of combined strip of high speed steel strips. Large size is made up of carbon insertion. See the picture: high speed steel cutting on one edge. This is a high speed steel is using. Tooth form: three type of tooth is forming. One is straight tooth, undercut tooth, third one is skip tooth. Skip tooth using mostly rough cutting. Tooth spacing: tooth spacing determines four parameters. One is size of the tooth, second one is size of the gillet, the space for the chips, third strength of the tooth, four number of teeth engaging with the workpiece. Different type of teeth and blades are there. So Different purpose, different plates and tooth is using. Tooth set. Advantage for cutting staggered. No friction between blade and nerve. Nerve is wider than the blade gauge thickness. Blade thickness. Hand hacksaw blade is 0.64 mm thick. Power hacksaw blade is 1.17 to 2.54 mm using. As general rule, blade twice longer than the workpiece is very important. Saw blades for long band or sawed in reels use combination of tooth pitch to reduce noise. The narrow blades easier is change of direction. Thank you.